Welcome back, campers.
That was Caitlin.
And that was Genevieve.
And you have arrived at Camping is Cancelled Blind Read.
Yay.
I didn't think we were going to be able to find one. I feel like we've done so many that are easily accessible that we're now having to dig. And
we did try to go supernatural, paranormal route. Guys, unless you want like a 2-minute BuzzFeed article, there's genuinely nothing in-depth and juicy.
Or if it is, then you get to the end and it's like, this story was made up by...
Gosh.
Or I even thought, what if we did like an April Fool's thing? And then I was like, no, if I was a listener, I would be pissed.
Yeah.
Get to the end. April Fools.
Yeah.
So we did not do that, but we did find a really compelling sounding article called The Killer Cadets, and it is written by Skip Hollingsworth for Texas Monthly way back in December 1996.
The year of Caitlin.
Oh, the year of Caitlin. I was 4 in 1996. Well, ooh. I think we may have read another article by Skip Hollingsworth before. His name sounds so familiar, but he is one of the greats by far of true crime journalism and just like great long form nonfiction articles. So I'm excited to dig into this story.
It looks juicy.
It really does. And Caitlin, do you want to tell people briefly, like we do at the top of every blind read, just in case you're brand new to the podcast, what a blind read is?
So basically, Genevieve and I go online, we do a little Googling, try to find a good, juicy article that is not behind a paywall. So we do not commit a crime and get sued ourselves.
Correct.
And so we know nothing about what we're going to be reading besides the title, which, like we said, was The Killer Cadets, and a little blurb. So
yeah, whatever little like hook they put at the top of an article.
So this one, you want me to read it?
Yeah.
This one states, they were young, they were smart, they were successful, they were in love, and they were cold-blooded murderers. Why did they do it?
Ooh.
So all we know so far
is
just
what we read.
Yeah, that. And it's women.
Oh,
we know that. We know it's girls.
We know there's girls in the story from skimming. I might be wrong about, I don't know.
Well, just from the pictures we've seen, but I think early on it literally starts with girls.
Okay.
So we'll see.
We'll see. Let's dive in. Lights out, campers.
Oh man, the mountains call my number one. I'm just a life-size lottery ticket in the hand of the one.
They probably first saw each other at a cross-country meet in the early autumn of 1995. 2 high school girls from neighboring small towns competing in the 2-mile run. There was no evidence that they said hello, nor did they shake hands, as athletes sometimes do before the start of a race. Why would they have? It is doubtful the 2 girls even knew one another's names. Adrienne Jones was a clear-complexioned, sun-kissed blonde, the kind of girl one boy describes as, quote, not just good-looking, but I mean good-looking.
Must be 1996, because I don't think anyone says that anymore.
Good-looking. No, now it's like, she's fire.
Yeah.
She's cooking.
Well, it's cooking good looking. Let's bring that back.
I do like that. I used to say that to all the guys at the nursing home.
Oh,
I love saying that.
Hey, good looking. That's so sweet. I bet they love that.
Oh my gosh. They ate that up.
Yeah.
Diane Zamora, thinner and not as tall, was mesmerizing in a different way. Her hair a dark circle around her face, her eyes dark as well, her eyebrows like slim shadows against her skin. Quote, when she looked at you, another boy would later say, it was hard for you to stop staring back. There was no reason for the 2 to imagine that they had anything in common beyond cross-country. They were just pretty young teenagers in the full bloom of youth. What Adrienne and Diane did not know about each other, however, was that they were both drawn to the same boy, a lean, muscular high school senior named David Graham, who was described as the perfect guy by one classmate and a brilliant student by another. David was the kind of young man any parent would admire. He made straight A's, he said yes sir and yes ma'am when talking to adults. His life was so unblemished, said one woman who knew him, that he didn't so much as throw a spitwad in school. At the time, David had chosen to be with Diane, who was called, quote, the disciplined one of the family by her mother because she would start studying for school before 6 o'clock each weekday morning. And not me.
Pass.
But David could not deny that there was something intriguing and somewhat seductive about Adrienne, who was called Bubble Butt by her mother because her bottom moved in sexy little circles when she walked. Excuse me?
I don't like reading that sentence because we're talking about
A child
moving in sexy little circle. I mean, bubble, like you could see your mom be like bubble butt.
Would
but
bubble
like,
butt be like an insult in that era? Was that before like stick thin? Like
no,
2000s?
I mean the 90s was very much 90s and
Still
2000s was that like stick skinny. But I just don't like that.
That's
that
weird.
sentence was
For the mother. Interesting.
well, that and that the writer, who is a middle-aged man, would describe a child's butt as moving in sexy little circles.
Yeah.
We don't like that, Skip.
He, as in David, found himself spending more time with her, talking to her, staring at her hazel eyes. The two girls lined up for the cross-country race, waiting for the starter's gun. It would not be long before they would meet again. Ooh.
Mm. In the early morning hours of December 3rd, 1995, a farmer driving along a desolate country road saw the body of a teenage girl on the ground behind a barbed wire fence. At first, he thought he was looking at roadkill. The girl's face was nearly unrecognizable. One bullet hole was in her left cheek, another in her forehead. She had been hit so hard on the left side of her head that the part of the skull above her ear was caved in like a pumpkin. She was wearing flannel shorts and a gray t-shirt that read, UIL Region 1 Cross Country Regionals 1995. Within hours, police officers identified her as Adrienne Jones, a 16-year-old high school sophomore from the town of Mansfield, southeast of Fort Worth. A former farming community built around a grain elevator, home to an old indoor rodeo arena and some cheery antique stores along Main Street, Mansfield was one of the last places in the Dallas-Fort Worth corridor that still felt like a small town. In 1984, looking for a safe place to raise his family, Bill Jones moved with his wife, Linda, and his 3 children, Adrienne and 2 younger brothers, to Mansfield from the Dallas area. He found a modest neighborhood where the homes were clustered together. The yards were like little green squares, and the echoey sound of children at play drifted down the streets. Jones, who made his living repairing heavy construction equipment, was a no-nonsense, bearded man who kept his heavy brown work boots on when he arrived home at the end of the day, wearing them even when he sat in his easy chair. He also was determined to keep a tight rein on his children, especially Adrienne, who was known as AJ. I truly felt that if we had some rules that kept her away from teenage temptations, Jones said, we'd be okay. It was only that autumn that he had allowed Adrienne to stay out past 9 o'clock on weekends. If she told him she was going to a movie or to Six Flags over Texas in nearby Arlington with friends, he would often make her produce a ticket stub when she came home to prove where she had been. He had nailed her bedroom window shut so she couldn't sneak out of the house at night.
I feel like the fire chief would have a complaint about that.
Yeah. Also, that's a great way to get your kid to rebel.
Oh, yeah. Oh, you gave me something to achieve?
Yeah, exactly. Tale as old as time, too. You be hyper controlling,
Yeah.
unreasonably so, and you're just gonna add fuel to that rebellious fire.
Also, who's to say she's not going to Six Flags with somebody she didn't tell you she was going to Six Flags with, despite the
Exactly.
ticket?
Mm-hmm.
Just saying.
Yeah.
It could hardly be said that Adrienne was a rebel. She took advanced honor courses, studied at least 2 hours a night, and was a good athlete. That's a lot for a young teen.
That's so much. And then for her dad to be an asshole on top of it. So far, Adrienne, as she's being described, was me. I didn't have time to be going out and doing
Yeah.
anything, nor did I want to.
Yeah, see, and who's to say if your child has the drive to get up to no good?
The drive to get up to no good. Parenting book by Caitlin Wilhelm.
I didn't have the drive to get up to no good. I had severe anxiety.
Exactly.
Like, if I said I was
Exactly.
going to be one place and not be in that place, I'm like, I'm going to wind up dead in the wrong place and my parents are going to find out.
100%. And I came by that anxiety, honestly.
But yeah, that's a lot. So after she hurt her knee playing for the girls' soccer team, she decided to join the girls' cross-country team to get in better shape. And she became so good in the 2-mile run that she helped the team qualify for the November regional meet in Lubbock. Her school spirit was just so awesome, said Carla Hayes, an editor for the school newspaper, the Mansfield Uproar, bestowing upon Adrienne one of the greatest compliments a high school girl could receive. I could see her becoming a cheerleader someday. That was a quote. She also managed to work 20 hours a week at Golden Fried Chicken, a local fast food restaurant.
Damn. So she was...
This has to be some type A, like, on.
Do you know what? It's making me think of Maura Murray.
Ooh, okay.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, very
driven,
very driven.
Mhm.
20 hours a week?
That's a lot.
Damn.
But then she's waking up before 6 to study,
Mm-hmm.
and then
Has
practices go
practices.
late. Like, if you have a
So-
meet.
She probably then was working full weekends. Or like maybe one day she'd work a double at Golden Fried Chicken. Good Lord.
She genuinely had no time to be even messing with her locked window.
No.
She was my superstar employee, said the restaurant's manager, Tina Dollar. I made her the cashier at the drive-thru window because she knew how to put a smile on everyone's face. She wore a hat with a smiley face drawn on the visor, and after taking an order, she'd say funny things to the customers like, okay, drive forward to the 99th window to get your food. Aw. Adrienne thrived on attention, especially when it came from the teenage boys around town. Oh, maybe she did have time. One of Adrienne's closest friends, Tracy Bumpass, called her a, quote, big flirt. Linda Jones, a chatty blonde who worked during the day as a massage therapist in a Mansfield hair salon, said her daughter would spend 2 hours putting on makeup just to make it look as if she wasn't wearing any. When I asked her why she went to such trouble to put her makeup on before she went out of the house, she said, "Mom, you never know who you might meet." And there were plenty of high school guys who wanted to meet her. They'd slowly cruise by the Joneses' house. A few of the courageous ones would pull into the driveway to talk to Adrienne, who would be waiting for them in the front yard, casting quick glances toward the front door to see if her father was watching them. I'm sure lots of guys really liked Adrienne, said Sydney Jones, a friend and former soccer teammate. She was the kind of girl who would say hi to you in the hallway at school, even if you didn't know her.
It was precisely Adrienne's popularity that was going to make the investigation into her murder so difficult. Because Adrienne's body had been found in the outskirts of the Dallas suburb Grand Prairie, detectives from that city's police department, Dennis Clay and Dennis Meyer, and their boss, Deputy Police Chief Brad Geary, were put in charge of the case. Adults who are murdered rarely have more than a couple of dozen people close to them, but a high school student crosses paths with hundreds of other students every day. and it quickly became clear to the detectives that Adrienne knew her killer or killers. There was no sign at the crime scene that she had struggled. There were no marks that her hands or legs had been restrained. Nor was there any indication that someone had broken into her house or had gone through her window to abduct her. Furthermore, an autopsy found no evidence that Adrienne had been sexually assaulted, which meant that this was not the act of a rapist. Adrienne's death, the cops realized, was more like an execution, the result of some colossal fury. As one investigator would later say, it takes a cold-blooded person to shoot a pretty young girl in the face from 2 to 4 feet away. That girl was mangled, and it was sickening to look at. Oh, God. It's so awful. I would also just want to take a minute to personal opinion. Just because she wasn't sexually assaulted doesn't mean the murder wasn't sexually motivated.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that also tracks with what they said about her face being mangled, like wanting to destroy that beauty. And that's
how
God,
horrible.
So horrible.
I know we'll link this or whatever, but the picture of her,
her mom.
a picture of her mom holding a picture of Adrienne, like they look just alike.
They really do. And Adrienne is stunningly beautiful. She makes me think of like Vanna White when she was just starting out on.
She's reminding me of what's her name from Fuller House. DJ.
Yes.
Like she looks like her.
Oh my God, yes, the exact same hair and kind of those like
it's giving that.
Yeah, those like round
and she
apple
was very
cheeks.
like overachieving.
Yep.
But she's beautiful regardless.
She is. It was a story that would eventually send shockwaves across the entire country. A terrifying, macabre tale that would have people everywhere asking what had happened to the best and brightest of America's youth. At the start, however, Adrienne Jones's murder was just another killing in a small town. Because so much local media attention was then focused on the kidnapping and brutal murder of a little girl named Amber Hagerman in Arlington, can't say I've heard of that one, we'll have to look that one up, Adrienne's death barely made the front pages of the Dallas and Fort Worth newspapers.
That's crazy to
Wow.
me. Because it's still a young girl who was execution style killed.
Yeah. Jeez. In a society long accustomed to drive-by shootings and metal detectors at school entrances, dead teenagers didn't warrant the press that they once did. Okay.
Maybe that's just a shock, like a culture shock then, because that's not small town area like us.
Right. And it's like just another small town murder. I'm sorry.
What do you mean? What do you mean? Like,
I thought in small towns murders weren't supposed to be just like, oh yeah, that's another murder. Like a HBO Max show town where someone's getting murdered like every month. Oh my God.
Like a third world country.
Yeah. But within Mansfield itself, the news had residents reeling. High school administrators set up special rooms for students to meet with counselors. A tree was planted in memory of Adrienne next to the junior varsity soccer field, and more than 150 of her classmates joined hands around the tree and shouted, "Unity, strength, courage." Some residents wore ribbons in her memory, and a small cross made from 2 branches, wrapped with red electrical wire, was placed where her body had been discovered. After the family held a private funeral for Adrienne at the Methodist Church, Linda Jones agreed to allow the cross-country and soccer teams to come to the church for a second memorial service. On the altar was a glamorous color photo of Adrienne, taken a few weeks earlier, that Linda had planned to give her for Christmas. Oh, God. "Try to remember the good things about Adrienne," she said in a spontaneous eulogy, trying to bolster the spirits of the students. "Do you remember the way she walked with that bubble butt of hers?" Oh my gosh, Linda. Nearly crazed with grief, Linda consulted psychics to try to find out what had happened to Adrienne. She made sure to wear some item of her daughter's almost every day, either a piece of clothing or her shoes or her makeup. At night, she and Bill left the light on in Adrienne's bedroom, as if hoping their daughter would find her way back home. Kids drove past the house, staring through the open curtains, able to see Adrienne's vanity, where she had put on her makeup, her stereo, and her bookcase, which still held a couple of her Stephen King novels.
Among the nearly 2,500 students at Mansfield High, it didn't take long for the rumors to start flying. A lot of us had this weird feeling that the killer was walking the halls with us, said April Grossman, a friend of Adrienne's who also ran cross country and played on the soccer team. Those of us who were really close to Adrienne were scared because we thought she might have been killed because of something she knew, and we thought, well, will the killer come after us thinking that Adrienne had told us the secret? Ooh. I guess these kids had the same amount of anxiety.
Yeah, that's also, I'm sure we'll get more into it, but that's odd that that would be the first thing they say, that she was killed because of something she knew. Huh.
Like maybe she was acting weird or something.
Yeah.
Some kids said they heard that Adrienne used to slip out of the house to attend all-night rave parties as far away as Denton, an hour's drive north of Mansfield. Maybe, they whispered, someone she met at a rave had wanted to kill her. Others said they heard that she knew drug dealers. There was also so much gossip about the boys Adrienne had been with that Linda went so far as to tell one reporter that her daughter was no sleep-around. There was even a preposterous story that a close girlfriend of Adrienne's had wanted to kill her because Adrienne had told that girl's mother about her getting drunk at a party.
My God.
About the only thing we didn't hear, Bill said, was that Adrienne had been abducted by aliens.
God. I wonder if Sacrifice by a Satanic Cult was in there somewhere.
It's Texas. It's the 90s.
Yeah, surely.
Still, for the investigators in the case, who had come to include the Mansfield police, a Texas Ranger, and extra Grand Prairie detectives, Adrienne's murder had all of the makings of a high school whodunit. Although the Texas Education Agency had named Mansfield High a mentor school, a distinction given only to the best high schools in the state, the teenagers there were like teenagers everywhere, their lives often driven by insecurities, inchoate yearnings, and a provincial restlessness. Wavering in that territory that lies between childhood and adulthood, the students tried on and discarded different selves as quickly as they went through blue jeans, always searching for the perfect fit. It was here that they confronted raw, new emotions, like their own budding sexuality, and here that they first attempted to make their own way through such moral dilemmas as whether to do it or not. Sitting outside the high school in their unmarked cars, watching students troop in and out, the detectives prepared themselves to enter the humid realm of adolescence. They talked to school officials about the students who had a knack for minor trouble. They asked other kids if they knew anyone who was jealous or angry at Adrienne. Within days, they had compiled a long list of kids they wanted to talk to.
Ooh. Bill and Linda Jones had told the police that on the night of Adrienne's death, they had reluctantly allowed her to talk on the phone past her usual 10 o'clock cutoff time. Her new boyfriend, Tracy Smith, had been out of town that weekend with his parents, and he didn't call until 10:30. Bill and Linda didn't know Tracy that well. He was a large kid who was built like a lineman on a college football team, and he went to high school in the nearby town of Venus. Apparently, he and Adrienne had met just a couple of months earlier at the Golden Fried Chicken. Bill told Adrienne she could talk to Tracy, but only for a few minutes. During that call, Linda heard her daughter say, "Hold on, there's someone on the other line." Adrienne punched the call waiting button and spoke quietly for a minute, then clicked back over and finished her conversation with Tracy. "Who was that who called in?" Linda later asked. According to Linda, Adrienne replied, "Oh, that was David from cross country, and he's upset about something." After talking with Tracy, Adrienne went to her room. At 10:45, Linda Jones saw that Adrienne was still awake, ironing her pants for school the next day. She seemed sort of antsy, Linda said. Linda told her to turn off the lights and go to bed. Sometime after midnight, one of Adrienne's younger brothers heard the constrained tumble of a slow-moving engine outside the house. When he looked out the window, he saw what he thought was a pickup truck driving away. The next morning, Adrienne was nowhere to be found, and Linda and Bill thought she might have risen early to go running. But when they discovered her running shoes in her bedroom, they got anxious. Linda called Leanne Burke, the cross-country coach at Mansfield High, and asked, "Who is someone named David on the cross-country team?" "Well, there's David Graham," Burke replied. "Adrienne's missing," Linda said, "and I think he called her last night." Burke was baffled. She didn't even know David and Adrienne were friends. David, a senior, was a decent cross-country athlete, but he was best known around the school for his position as battalion commander of the school's junior ROTC program. Burke sent April Grossman to David's second period math class to ask him if he had called Adrienne the previous night. David stared at April as if she were not making sense. "Did I talk to Adrienne?" "No. Why would I?"
Ugh, can I just say, when they first gave the details of what she was wearing when her body was found, I was like, pajamas.
Oh, ooh, that's a great...
So...
Yes, because... And just in that picture of her, and then the detail about her mom ironing her pants, and how she would do 2 hours worth of makeup before leaving the house. She is not someone who would leave the house.
Wear a t-shirt, like a cross-country t-shirt and plaid shorts.
Yeah, and even if she had been dressed more casually because she was going for a run, she wasn't because her running shoes were there. Ooh, that's a really good observation, Caitlin. Little Hercule Poirot over there.
As their investigation began, the detectives did conduct a preliminary interview with David Graham, but they were so certain he was not involved that they didn't even try to give him a polygraph test. For one thing, David's name was not among the 30 or so listed in Adrienne's personal phone book, nor did the detectives hear his name mentioned by any of Adrienne's friends when they asked who might have had a close relationship with her. In fact, Tracy Bumpus said that Adrienne told her all of her, quote, deepest, darkest secrets, but not once did she ever talk about David. Besides, David had supposedly been seen with tears in his eyes at the memorial service, seemingly stunned like everyone else that Adrienne was gone. Few students consider themselves good friends with David. "We all knew him, but we really didn't know him, you know," said Kenny Grant, whose locker was next to David's throughout high school, and he certainly was not part of the school's most popular crowd. Still, he intrigued other kids. With his military burr haircut and ramrod posture, he seemed to be a throwback to a different era. The youngest of 4 children, David lived with his father, Jerry Graham, a retired Mansfield elementary school principal. He was divorced from David's mother, Janice, a former teacher who lived in Houston. At the age of 7, after seeing his first air show, David told his father he wanted to become an Air Force pilot, and he never wavered from his dream. Although ROTC students at Mansfield High were usually the subject of jokes, we thought of all of them in their green uniforms as sort of geeky, one girl said. It was clear that David was going places. He was a National Merit Commended student, just below the rank of National Merit semifinalist, and Congressman Martin Frost had agreed to support his application to enroll the next fall in the U.S. Air Force Academy in Colorado Springs. That's pretty big.
That is pretty big. Isn't that interesting, though, how that uniform, that like military green uniform at Mansfield High in the 90s. It was kind of a it's something you're gonna get made fun of, like, oh, loser, nerd. But I feel like back in the day, even like 30 years prior, someone in a military uniform, that's like swoon, automatic swoon.
Yeah.
And I feel like still people feel that way to a degree, no matter what area you're in, because there are always certain personalities who are like, oh, military guys.
I think it's because even now, or at least when I was in school, I feel like there was still like the air around ROTC being like, oh, okay, guys, you play like Call of Duty at home. You think you're something. I
gotcha.
Like you're a little hall monitor. You think you're hot shot.
I see that you're like
that type of geek.
Okay.
Like, okay.
I get, that makes total
sense.
Like
cosplaying as a soldier.
I see.
Almost dorkiness.
I see.
That's at least what
sense.
I got when I was in high school.
That makes total sense. See, we didn't have people who were doing like ROTC in my high school, but there were people who would do like, there was some kind of program that was like kind of preparing you to be like a Citadel cadet. Like the Citadel is a big military school down there. And it was very much the same thing, that basically you would get teased for being super like type A anal, but that it wasn't really real,
Yeah, exactly. It's just like, okay.
Yeah. Who are you going to fight? Because there's,
we're kids.
Yeah.
Some of the more sarcastic guys in school would address him as Colonel Graham. See? Said Jennifer Skinner, who sat near David in a government class his senior year. But you could tell they sort of said it out of respect.
Okay. I'm picturing Dave, for whatever reason, the second we started reading this, I just started picturing like Euphoria type storyline. And I'm picturing David as being, what's his face from Euphoria? Oh my God. Jacob Elordi's character. Yes.
There's just like
that very together, clean cut, but like has this quiet, intense energy where people don't really know them and they're kind of scary.
Yeah, I don't know how my brain is really trying to depict him, but I don't know anything, but he's definitely falling into like piece of shit, like teenager who thinks he's above, like who acts like he has it all, but isn't like, oh, I don't know who she is, and then why are you crying at her funeral? Like it's I'm just kind of connecting him to other like love triangle murders in high school,
and other stereotypes of this type of personality. I'm tracking,
but I don't know anything yet.
I'm tracking.
Added another classmate, David Brennan. He could fall asleep during class and then wake up and still answer the teacher's questions.
Oh my God.
So cool. David Graham might have seemed tailor-made for the military when he and others in the ROTC squadron presented the colors before the football games. He stood so perfectly still that people tended to watch him instead of the flag. But he never came across as one of those overly aggressive G.I. Joe types. He quit the football team after his freshman year because, it was said, he didn't have the necessary ferocity to make it in the Texas high school football. What's more, girls liked him for his courtly manners. Angel Lockhart, who was on the girls' cross-country team, said David gave her rides home a few times after cross-country practice, and he always acted like a gentleman. Plenty of girls would have dated David. He was one of the last cool guys on earth. A girl who served with David in the Mansfield High ROTC would later tell a reporter. But what few of them knew was that he already had a girlfriend. And the plot thickens. Her name was Diane Zamora, and she was a high school senior in the nearby town of Crowley. She was just as smart as David, and she was equally determined to get into one of the U.S. military academies. She was a member of the Student Council, the Key Club, the National Honor Society, and the Masters of the Universe, a science organization. She played flute in the marching band, and like David, she ran on her high school's cross-country team. When you looked at the two of them together, one of Diane's relatives said, you just knew that a great future lay before them.
this is just my cynicism, but when one of Diane's relatives was like, when you looked at the two of them, you know a great future lay before them. When I look at the pictures of the two of them, and in our Instagram posts, we'll have all of this, I see a couple who peaked in high school and then goes on to have a shitty marriage and...
Yeah, and
I
again, I don't know
know
if I'm being biased just by what I think I know.
because we're picking up what
Yeah.
we think Skip is putting down, which is that they had something to do with this murder, and so we're more inclined to be of them. But let's
also,
continue.
like, they're in high school.
Yeah.
They're babies.
Yeah, they're,
What do you mean?
They're children. But it's our society's obsession with, like the sentence that Skip wrote earlier, that weird limbo that we ascribe to high school between childhood and adulthood. But here's what I would say to that is that limbo, I think, is something that is romanticized in films and television.
Yeah.
But actual real life high school is literally just children, and they're maybe starting to play act as adults because they have that tiny inkling of freedom, and then you're hitting puberty.
Well,
and you're interested in...
But they're truly going through their first phase of, like, truly understanding, oh, I'm changing.
Yeah.
Like, my personality is growing.
Yeah.
That is just your, like, your second phase of your
Yeah.
personality. You have so many more phases.
Mhm.
Like, this is nothing. And that's
You're-
easy to say as
Yeah.
I'm inching toward my 30s. Like, it's easy, but...
You just realize the older you get how young you
And
truly are when you're in
impressionable
high
and
school.
how you
And
truly don't know anything.
yeah, you're not that much different than, I mean, maybe it sounds extreme to say, but for me, like, innocence wise and life experience wise, when I was 15, 16, I, aside from obviously being like bigger and more athletic and having more responsibility a little bit, I mentally was just as innocent and naive as I was when I was like 10. Because
Yeah.
and I know was very sheltered, and that's not everyone's experience, but it's just that idea that you're in this cocoon where, for the most part, and it seems like these kids were, that they were taken care of, all their needs were met, you're not actually living like an adult and making adult decisions. So it's, I don't know really how we kind of got started talking about this, but it always gives me the ick when high school stuff is spoken of like we're talking about adults, because
Yeah, or like you said, romanticizing
Yeah.
it. Like, it's just, they're children. Let them be children.
yeah, exactly.
So, yeah, I find it like you just knew they had a great future that laid before them.
And the pressures that are put
Yeah.
on them in that phase really can result in so many of those behaviors that are scary,
Yeah.
because they shouldn't be having that type of pressure put on
Yeah,
them.
they're
You're already,
premature feelings are being reinforced
Yeah.
in an unhealthy way.
because you're
Healthy,
already
but
grappling with so many things that are changing in your body, in your relationships, just realizing like, I'm not a little kid anymore. And then, oh yeah, you've got a great future ahead of you, son. Like, let's talk about your 401k and you how many children you're going to have with your high school girlfriend. And it's still another 10 dang years before, as a guy, that your brain is even fully developed.
Let's not even start with that conversation. God. Yeah.
Well,
It's just from what we're gathering, I'm feeling weird about it.
yeah,
About
absolutely.
David and Diane's relationship.
And if you really want to feel weird about adults playing teenagers who are being romanticized as having adult lives but also can't look away, watch Euphoria.
That shit's crazy.
That is the craziest show I've
That
ever
shit.
seen in my life. Oh.
And don't watch it with your children.
Yeah.
Like, legit.
Oh, God.
I think you might catch a charge.
I felt like I had to fast forward, and I was watching it alone. I was like, oh my God, no.
It was like, oh.
How many wieners can they fit in one computer screen? Anyways. The first major suspect to emerge in Adrienne's murder was a Mansfield teenager, Tara, not her real name, who lived in a trailer park and already had something of a reputation around town. A year before, she thought her boyfriend had had a sexual encounter with one of Adrienne's closest girlfriends. According to police records, Tara attacked the girl with a baseball bat, hitting her over the head, breaking her cheekbone, and leaving her with a concussion.
What in the Euphoria?
I was like, okay, yep, what episode of Euphoria is this? Tara also shot and wounded her boyfriend. A restraining order was filed against Tara to keep her out of school and away from the girl she had attacked. Holy shit.
Wow.
At the hearing, Adrienne testified for her friend. Tara, in turn, allegedly told Adrienne, "I'll get you for this."
Okay, so you know what? Maybe dead teenagers wasn't a crazy thing for this area.
No.
What the fuck?
Oh my god. Some students were convinced Tara was the killer. She fit their picture of what a killer would be. A surly, aimless individual far removed from the mainstream of suburban teenage life who had already shown her willingness to use a gun and a bat. God. Oh, and again, I just gotta say, like, teenager, she's a kid. What was she seeing?
Immediately,
or
I feel
subjected
bad
to?
for her.
Yeah, I mean, that, again, doesn't mean you shouldn't be legally punished. You've crossed a line there, but, like, my God, what had she been subjected to herself?
How does a child have access to a gun?
Ugh,
The bat? Okay.
yeah.
Gun?
Terrifying. But the police discovered that Tara had a solid alibi, and she passed a polygraph test. Tara is Maddie from Euphoria.
Oh my god. Yeah.
Tara's at the polygraph like, no, I didn't. I would have, but I didn't.
But I didn't. You'd know if it was me.
Yeah. Although Bill and Linda told the police they were suspicious of Adrienne's boyfriend, Tracy Smith, Linda said he had never tried to contact the family after Adrienne's killing. He too passed a polygraph, probably because he was traumatized.
Gosh.
Tracy did, however, give the police another clue. He said that Adrienne had told him that it was someone named Brian who had clicked through on the phone that night. She had never mentioned David. She had said that Brian was depressed and wanted to meet her that night to talk. The detectives then learned that a Mansfield teenager named Brian McMillan worked at an Eckerd's near a Subway sandwich shop where Adrienne once worked. According to Adrienne's friends and family, Brian had become infatuated with Adrienne and often dropped by the Subway to see her. He began to bother her so much that when she saw him coming, she started ducking her head behind the counter, Linda Jones said. The investigators' suspicions were heightened when they discovered that the 17-year-old Brian took 4 kinds of medication to battle symptoms of clinical depression. That can't be good on the developing brain. They asked him to come to the police station for an interview. According to an affidavit, Brian first said he didn't know an Adrienne Jones.
Oh my lord.
Oh God. Then he admitted that he did. A detective asked him if he had talked to Adrienne the night she was murdered. Brian said he could have talked to her, but he didn't remember. He had been drinking that night for the first time in 6 months, he said, and had become intoxicated. Again, what in the Euphoria?
Because we know at least one young viewer is listening to this. This is not the typical high school anything.
Absolutely not. And this is why you do not become intoxicated. When asked why he had been drinking, Brian said he had gotten upset because all of his friends had found girlfriends, but he hadn't. He told detectives he felt like the odd man out. It wasn't hard for the police to put this scenario together. A lonely boy, unable to get the beautiful blonde from the high school to pay attention to him, devising a way to meet her late at night, then losing control. And I will also add, being depressed, 4 medications in the 90s with God knows what side effects, probably was not getting good mental health help, and alcohol on top of that, and hormones.
Yeah.
Holy shit. The detectives bored in, asking Brian if he had gone to Adrienne's house that night. Brian said he might have. He said it was also possible he could have taken her somewhere. He just didn't remember.
I really hope he had a lawyer present with him, but the way he's talking, I don't think he did.
Like, oh my God.
What do you mean, buddy?
This smacks of either extreme, like the coercive questioning, or that he really was just that fucked up that he genuinely didn't remember. And that's scary.
Or like he just can't trust his memory.
Yeah. Oh my God, that's scary.
Gosh. A week later, in the pre-dawn hours of December 15th, 1995, police officers armed with guns and a search warrant arrived at Brian's house. He was arrested for murder, and his pickup truck was impounded.
I mean, right now, he looks good for it.
He looks very damning. And a pickup truck.
Yeah.
Which the brothers said they saw.
That's right.
This time, the story made the front pages of the newspapers, but several of Brian's friends defended him, saying that he was a gentle, slightly baffled kid who would never resort to violence.
Oh.
Brian's father insisted that the night of the murder, Brian came home and never left the house. Finally, after Brian had spent Christmas and New Year's Eve in jail, a lead prosecutor in the district attorney's office arranged for a polygraph. He not only passed, the prosecutor said, he passed with flying colors. But see, that's hard to trust because if he was so uncertain of what he thought was the truth or not,
and if he's very depressed and 4 times medicated, that would affect your body's
and this is
responses.
90s. Polygraph tests were taken with a little bit more grain of salt.
Yeah.
Oof.
This is... But I see why they're honing in on him. Because who else are they going to at this point?
You have stalking allegations, and then you say you don't know her, and then... Never mind, I actually do.
And you have her mom saying that she knew that her daughter was actively avoiding him.
Uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Brian's release triggered more rumors, but no other suspects emerged. Because Adrienne's brother had said that he had seen a pickup truck, the police ran computer checks to find any student who owned one. It's Texas. That's good. I
mean, who doesn't?
It's that or a horse. What do you like?
It's so true, though. The pickup truck is honestly the least of their concerns.
Yeah, that's the least damning thing.
To narrow down.
Unless you have a make or model or something.
Or a very specific type of damage or weird color. Yeah.
It never occurred to anyone that the vehicle her brother had seen might not have been involved in the murder. That's true, too.
Yeah.
Nor, apparently, did anyone guess that Adrienne had told Tracy about a Brian to keep him from learning about her relationship with someone else. Only months later would Tina Dollar, the manager at the Golden Fried Chicken, remembered that Adrienne had once pulled a small photo of a boy out of her wallet and showed it to her. His name is David, Adrienne had said.
David Graham and Diane Zamora first met about 4 years before Adrienne Jones's murder, when their parents began dropping them off at a small airfield south of Fort Worth. They went there for weekly meetings of the Civil Air Patrol, an Air Force auxiliary organization that teaches the basics of the military life and leads search and rescue missions for downed aircraft. But there was no romance between them in their younger years. In their younger years, it makes it sound like they're like 50 years old.
Like, what do you mean? they're preteens.
Oh, God. Despite her good looks, Diane was careful around guys. She did have a boyfriend during her sophomore year in high school, but the relationship was not particularly heated. When the two went out for dinner on Valentine's Day, Diane asked to be taken home at 8:30 because she needed to study. She kept telling us she wanted to focus on her studies and her goals instead of on guys, said her Aunt Sylvia Gonzalez. And she always made it a point to tell us she was never going to lose her virginity unless she got married. When the two of her cousins got pregnant in high school, she said she couldn't believe how stupid they were. She swore that nothing like that would happen to her.
I was going to say, like, what teenager goes around broadcasting their virginity plans, but, you know, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
In this town, in this time, I mean, this seems, again, the straight-up euphoria town, so anything goes. In the world of high school sexual skirmishing, Diane firmly put herself into the camp of good girls. A girl who goes too far, she would often say to her family, gets called a slut. When she realized during her sophomore year that her boyfriend was bent on having sex with her, she dumped him. Diane's father, Carlos, a kind, soft-spoken man, was an electrician. Her mother, Gloria, was a registered nurse. The family was deeply religious. Gloria was the daughter of a minister who led a non-denominational Spanish-speaking church on the south side of Fort Worth. Gloria, her 5 sisters, and their families never missed Sunday services, and after church, the entire Zamora clan would gather for lunch at a cafeteria. Diane was the eldest of the Zamora's 4 children, and the most driven. When she was 9 years old, she announced to her family that she wanted to become an astronaut. She sent off for NASA brochures, and by high school she was keeping a spiral notebook containing a list of achievements she had to accomplish to get a college scholarship. No. At 9 years old, I was lining up my Polly Pockets in a row.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I was chewing on their clothes. Yeah. Yeah.
She knew exactly what her grade point average and SAT scores needed to be. She carried a knapsack full of school books everywhere in case she got stranded and had some time to fill. At Crowley High School, Diane was not one of the social girls who gathered between periods in the school's chalky-smelling hallways to swap gossip. While she was not considered unfriendly, she was known around school as someone who kept to herself. She didn't have a whole lot to say, one student said. She preferred associating with the smart kids at school, homework buddies she called them, and she was determined to become an academic star. Late in her junior year, when she posed for her high school graduation picture, she asked that she be allowed to wear the special tassel for being in the top 10% of her senior class, even though she had no idea at that time whether she would achieve that honor. Honestly, kind of admire that, because she's like, I'm manifesting. I'm going to work my ass off. I'm manifesting.
My type B ass would be judging. But I mean, good for you.
That you set that standard for yourself and be like, I will not let my future self down, you know?
Hey, yeah. Props.
I mean, minus the murdering thing, if she's involved with that, because I'm picking that up.
Yeah.
No. There could be a twist. You never know. We've been there before.
I don't know.
Anyways, Diane said she wanted to have the photograph as a way to keep her motivated. Oh, yeah, there we go.
Okay. Diane did end up in the top 10% of her senior class. Gloria Zamora told her friends that the reason Diane worked so diligently was because she knew her parents could not afford to send her to a good college. When her father got laid off from work, Diane watched Gloria take on 2 nursing jobs a day and then sell Mary Kay cosmetics on the side to help pay the family's bills.
Wow.
So, I mean, she saw her family work hard and struggle, so...
Yeah. 2 nursing jobs a day and trying to run your own Mary Kay business.
That's a lot of socializing and networking.
And then 5 kids. Did it say that she was one of 5?
I think she was the oldest of 4.
Okay. No, that's right. Her mom was one of 5 sisters. Okay.
At one point, the electricity was cut off in their small house for more than a week. Diane studied by candlelight. But even with her ambition, Diane was still a teenager, filled with the same impulses and longings as any other girl her age. While she kept Civil Air Patrol military fatigues in her closet, she also had a collection of teddy bears on her bed. She took an after-school job at Fast Forward, a store oriented to teenage girls, because she liked the discount she could get on hip clothes. She listened to both contemporary Christian music and popular groups like Pearl Jam. Diane was a really sweet girl, said one former neighbor, Dale Rogers, but I thought she was a little naive and sheltered from the outside world.
Oh, we apologize for this upcoming sentence.
She was really a virgin in life, you know? She hadn't really experienced anything. She didn't know all the things that could happen between people.
I'm sorry.
It's a little creepy.
A
But at the
former
same time,
neighbor named Dale
Yes.
Rogers, who was a man.
I'm getting red flags.
Oh,
But at the same time, I could see an adult, not like an adult man, but an adult
Yeah.
looking at this kid who, like, thinks she knows everything, like,
yeah.
has this good head on her shoulders, but it's like, you really don't know anything.
Yeah. I just hate that word virgin.
Yeah, that
of
was
being
weird.
Like, she's a virgin in life. But I get the sentiment of what he's saying is that of her being very sheltered and whatever. Because I very much see elements of myself in that, having that nose to the grindstone, hyper achieving within my bubble.
Or even if he was like, he was military and he saw her like doing ROTC and like, it's like, you don't know anything.
Yeah. It's very much a safe
Yeah.
nest, just like being within the walls of a high school and busting your butt to get good grades and approval of teachers is like not actually a reflection of surviving in the real world, like the corporate world, the business world. It's very, very different. But when you are a kid and that is your entire world and you're being told, if succeeding here is what you must do to succeed out there, then...
It's still weird, though. Granted, we don't know the context in which he was asked about her, like recounting her, but it's still weird for a neighbor to talk about a teenager
like
in
how
a
did,
negative way.
Like, how did he arrive at that conclusion that you know your neighbor girl so well that you know she's naive and sheltered and hadn't really experienced anything? She did, and that sentence, she didn't know all the things that could happen between people. That's what makes it sound sexual to me.
It just sounds... Again, we don't know why he was asked this or when in the timeline, so I'm just weirded out a little.
We're side-eyeing you, Dale Rogers. Ugh.
And then, in August 1995, just before the start of her senior year, her life changed. She told her parents that she had fallen for a boy, David Graham. He was just like her, she said breathlessly. It was not only that they had known as children what they wanted to do with their lives. They both loved calculus, physics, and government, and they talked on the phone late into the night about their homework.
Let me just say that calculus and physics were 2 of the subjects that I was on the Oregon Trail, that I would rather do that than either of those things.
Yeah.
And I didn't take government in high school, so I don't know.
But talk about their homework.
Ugh.
Ew. So I was the kid that literally got to school in the morning and asked my friends if I could copy their homework. Okay. I was a different person.
Look at you. Look at how good you're doing.
Look, I graduated high school.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Here I am.
Here you are. Chart-topping podcast. Manifesting. Dentist husband, 2 beautiful, healthy children.
Yeah.
Hot. A teen
Sister-in-law.
mom. Hot teen
You know how many
moms.
freaking nightmares I have of being pregnant in high school?
Oh my God.
Too many.
Mine are not of being pregnant in high school. Mine are I'm in high school and I know I'm not supposed to be there, that I've like left the kids at home.
Oh gosh.
But that I got told that my high school, like I didn't get something that I needed in high school and that my high school degree was like null and void and I have to go back. And then I remember I told you that I dreamed that it was me, but I was in high school and I had my computer bag and a drug sniffing dog came in and was like, "Rrr, rrr, rrr," on me.
This bitch. This bitch.
And then in my dream, I'm like, shit, I'm in high school and I think there's a bottle of whiskey in my bag.
I think it's safe to say Adrienne wasn't the type to have these dreams.
I think that's safe to say too. Oh my gosh.
gosh.
But Diane very well may have been, even when she was still in high school.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Adrienne seemed like she was...
Maybe I meant to say Diane.
Oh, maybe you
I think
did.
I meant to say Diane.
It seems
Sorry.
like Diane and Adrienne were similar in their drivenness.
Yeah.
But
their ambitions.
But the picture that is being painted for us that I'm picking up is that Adrienne was far more outgoing and social, that she liked and embraced the attention that she got from boys. That does not mean that she was in any way like, you know,
see, what
abusing
I'm getting from Diane is that she thinks she's better than. She's not going to be pregnant in high school like her cousin. She's not going to do this. Like, she will be better. And then here she is getting wrapped up in a boy.
Whereas Adrienne she's enjoying herself, but she's also working her butt off, track and field, getting excellent grades, working. She's getting the thing done, but also enjoying herself, having a good time, enjoying boys. Diane is doing all of the drivenness stuff, but has put a lockdown and is a hard no on anything to do with like enjoying herself when it comes to boys in the way that she sees as lesser, like the partying, the, you know, hooking up, like, and that's fine. Like, that's but it's very easy when you're in high school to put people into boxes and be like, oh, there's the girls who do that. Yeah. And there's the girls who don't do that. You know?
It's just the way that, and I've skimmed a little, so it like, it's just a picture of Diane as being, I'm just seeing a very judgmental person, like a very like,
I think she's very hard on herself.
Yeah. And then
it's
being
bleeds over into being hard on other people. Yeah. Yeah. Like how she called her high school cousins who were children for getting pregnant stupid.
Yeah.
I agree with you about the picture that's kind of being painted that we're getting of both of these young teenagers.
So to continue about David and Diane, their feelings, well known to any adolescent, were a mixture of adoration and total possessiveness. When they were together, they never stopped touching.
Oh boy.
Diane would put her arm around his waist, sliding one finger into a belt loop, and David would encircle her with his arms. He always had both arms around her, like he was afraid she was going somewhere, said Diane's aunt Sylvia. The two of them looked like they were wrapped up in one another.
I know you've seen those reels that are like that one couple in high school, and they're doing exactly this. Have you ever... I see those occasionally, and it'll be a millennial our age making fun of the emo kids in high school who are like the super... heavy side bangs and the hoodies, and they're always just like draped over each other, or like
their belt loops were genuinely like interlocked together, like with a carabiner or something. Yeah,
that they couldn't exist without the other. I definitely saw couples like this in high school, even though PDA was strictly not allowed. You could just tell there were ways around it, and there was a vibe, like the ones who were dating versus the ones that were like attached, like possessive of each other. Yeah.
It was not difficult for David and Diane to be swept away by the romantic grandeur of their relationship. By then, they were the stars of the Civil Air Patrol. David was a cadet colonel in the CAP's youth division, the highest accolade given, and Diane was the wing secretary, and they saw themselves as the top guns of the 21st century. David saw himself becoming a great fighter pilot, Diane a famous astronaut. Abandoning her plans to study physics at an academically elite major university, Diane applied to the Air Force Academy, where David was set on going.
And
Ugh.
you are not going to be a famous astronaut doing that.
Well, I don't know.
Sorry.
Because she could go to NASA from there.
I guess in my mind, for someone to become an astronaut, they almost have to have like an Olympian level of stuff from very early on. But
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe you'd be fine going to the Air Force Academy first.
After she learned that the deadline had passed for applications, she applied to the U.S. Naval Academy with the intention of transferring her commission after graduation from the Navy to the Air Force so that she could be stationed with David. That's not typically how...
Yeah. But we see a shift
That's
from her
so...
dreams
Yeah.
of astronaut
Like,
to
her
centering...
dreams
yes,
are now...
to centering David.
Ugh. And that's where it's dangerous.
Yeah.
Like, not dangerous, but just like...
In high school.
Yeah. A little bit of a red flag.
Mm-hmm.
Diane's family knew that David's personality was a little different. He had a collection of hunting rifles, which he once brought over to their house. When he came to church with Diane, he wore his combat boots, pants, and a t-shirt, and he kept his arm closely around her through the service. He once showed up at the Zamora's house with a couple of his ROTC buddies from Mansfield. For entertainment, David took them out to the front yard and ordered them to march back and forth. Diane was laughing, thinking it was funny, said Sylvia. But I think the rest of us wondered a little when David said, "I can get these guys to do whatever I want."
Red flag guy. Red flag guy. Still, no one could say that David was ever impolite around Diane or her family. On weeknights, he drove the 18 miles from Mansfield to Crowley and quietly sat in the Zamora's living room to do homework with her. When her parents couldn't afford a pair of $100 combat boots for Diane, David bought them. After Diane had a serious wreck driving David's pickup truck, requiring pins to be put into her left hand, David spent entire nights at the hospital with her. Unlike that other boyfriend of hers who just wanted to go all the way, said a relative, David genuinely cared for Diane. I don't think Diane had ever had that kind of attention. That September, about a month after they started dating, they told Diane's parents that they were engaged.
What was that little joke I said about? Oh, I think it was off of it when we were looking at him. I said he looks like the military guy who gets engaged before going to boot camp.
Yep, you sure did. A month after they started dating, David had sold a couple of his hunting rifles to make a down payment for an engagement ring. They were going to get married, they said, on August 13th, 2000, after they graduated from their military academies. They already had the wedding planned. They were going to charter a bus to carry their relatives in Texas to the famous Cadet Chapel on the Air Force Academy's campus. There, David would wear his uniform, Diane a white wedding dress, and at the end of the ceremony, they would walk under crossed swords held by other cadets. Not long after they announced their engagement, her family confirmed, Diane lost her virginity to David, an act that had a dramatic impact on her life. After it was over, she was real confused by what had happened, one relative said. I know she felt guilty because she had wanted to wait, but once she went through with it, she became more committed than ever to David. I remember her saying, quote, "If I can't be Mrs. David Graham, then I will die as Miss Diane Zamora."
Y'all.
Whoa. There's a lot to unpack there, but that makes me feel very icky. Indeed, they were hopelessly in love, focused as laser beams on each other. In that classic teenage way, they developed their own secret love code. She called him Tiger, the Mansfield High School mascot was a tiger, and he called her Kittens. Ew. and they ended many of their telephone conversations with the words, greenish-brown female sheep. Greenish-brown is the color olive. A female sheep is a ewe. Olive ewe, I love you. Caitlin has passed away. This will be Camping is Canceled final recording. What?
I'm just cringing even more because, like, I just think of little 16-year-old me.
Ugh.
Ugh. I mean,
Also,
it's
probably
cute,
how
but
you would have been like, oh my god, we're so cute for being like greenish brown female sheep. You'd be like, I'm gonna get this tattooed.
I wanted to get Andy tattooed on the bottom of my fucking foot at one point in my life, Genevieve.
I didn't want that, but I did when I got a Woody. I remember I got a real Woody with I was yard sailing with Diane. I got a real Woody at a yard sale, and I wrote Jenny on his foot on the bottom.
Cute. Doesn't you have that one, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. But yeah.
Like, I wanted my childhood dog's name tattooed on me with, like, the infinity symbol. Like, 29-year-old me compared to even 19-year-old me 10 years ago.
Oh my gosh.
Different people. Different people.
On the first weekend in November, David traveled to Lubbock with other members of the Mansfield High cross-country team for the regional meet. Both the boys and girls squads had qualified, and the school provided them a large van for the trip. One of the students who went on that trip was Adrienne Jones. In many ways, Adrienne was Diane Zamora's polar opposite, an ebullient girl who knew how to charm guys and get them to look twice at her. When she posed for one studio portrait, she made sure to show some cleavage. Although she was far from sexually naive, she wasn't overly promiscuous in a way that could make her an outcast among the more popular girls. Diane, on the other hand, rarely put on makeup for school, and, except for David, she thought most high school guys were immature. It is not known if anything happened between Adrienne and David in Lubbock. No one can remember whether they sat next to one another on the van or stayed up late talking at the motel. Some of Adrienne's friends think she would have kept her distance from David. As one friend pointed out, Adrienne had her standards. She would never sleep with another girl's boyfriend. But something did happen when they returned to Mansfield. For whatever reason, perhaps Adrienne looked at David on that van and saw the kind of guy that even her father would like. She asked him to give her a ride home. They didn't go straight to her house. Adrienne surprised him by asking him to take some turns that he knew were out of the way. They ended up behind an elementary school, where David parked the car and he and Adrienne had sex. A brief but truly fatal entanglement. Apparently, they told no one. Their encounter seemed to have been an impulsive one-night fling. But a month later, late in the evening, a friend of David's who lived in the nearby town of Burleson heard a tapping at his window. David and Diane, their clothes bloodied, came through the window. According to the friend, David begged him to ask no questions. But the friend noticed that both David and Diane were upset. They lay on the floor and held each other. It was the same night Adrienne Jones disappeared from her home and was murdered. Did you have a thought or just...
I have so many thoughts. Oh my gosh. That's just...
Once again, we're in euphoria.
Literally.
But...
That just... Zero to NASA.
Yeah, that was 0 to NASA. I'm a little lost for words because I didn't expect things to go from that intense that quickly, but...
I mean, they did say there's really nothing to say about whether they had a relationship or not.
Yeah, we just know that they had at least one sexually encounter. All right, Caitlin, continue.
But the friend never reported the incident to the police. and soon David and Diane were back to their old ways. Using his father's credit card, David bought Diane and Gloria leather coats as Christmas presents. He got Diane's engagement ring out of layaway so she could begin to wear it. And again, they're in high school. This is senior year of high school.
Yeah. Is Gloria Diane's mom?
I believe so,
okay.
yes.
That's right.
Now, on Valentine's Day, he gave her a teddy bear and flowers. 2 thumbs up. Typical gift
Yeah,
of high schooler.
very
Valentine's Day
sweet.
gifts. Good job.
Yeah. Don't be getting engaged in high school.
Don't do it.
Don't do it. I don't even know where
I
that
don't know
was.
what we're mimicking.
Andre the Giant, maybe. I don't know.
But now we're going to say it.
Oh, yeah.
Diane's family could not help but wonder about the relationship as it progressed. David and Diane seemed so absorbed in one another's lives, so obsessed. No matter what we were talking about, Diane brought up David's name. She was always talking about David this or David that, said Diane's cousin, Ronnie Gonzalez. One night when they were apart and David didn't call, Diane tearfully begged her mother to call his house to see if anything terrible had happened to him. David was no different. He came over every afternoon to run with Diane, and some nights he would stay so late that he would fall asleep on the couch. His father would call, demanding that he come home, but David would dawdle for hours before leaving. Whenever Diane would go to a school function at night, David would phone every hour from his home until she got back.
God.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, it's giving Dean in, I think, season 2 of Gilmore Girls, where and Lorelai's like, honey, you gotta ease up on that love potion you've been giving him.
But really, like, calm down.
Because Dean calls like 10 times in one day. And Rory's like, this is a bit much. And Lorelai's like, well, honey, he doesn't have anything better to do besides sit at home eating Fruit Loops out of the box going, Rory, I love you, Rory. Rory, I will not be ignored.
Oh my gosh.
But it's funny because we're laughing about it. And in most cases, this
is funny.
It's just puppy love.
Juvenile, yeah.
It's when it gets, as we are seeing, that darker edge of obsession that you are not able to separate yourself from your relationship on a level that becomes dark. And that doesn't happen with most high school relationships. I mean, that doesn't mean that they aren't very intense and real at the time. And some people do get married in high school and perfectly fine, happy ever after. But it's funny how, like, of course, eagle's eye view we have. But even now, even now, you could see where people would be like, oh yeah, they're obsessed with each other. But you never are going to go that route of being like, oh, they would kill somebody actually. Or like,
I mean, and if anything, at least as her parents, it'd be like, okay, so you thought dating was stupid. Your cousins that got pregnant, stupid.
Yeah.
And you have all these like amazing big dreams and goals. And now it's just like shrinking back so
narrowing
fast.
down. Yeah.
Like she's changing her orbit. She's like, oh, I'll go to West Point now. Like I'll do this so then that I can transfer.
Yeah.
But
also because her family is super religious and very traditional, they're also like super happy with her being like this too, because they're like, oh, it's wonderful if you want to be a wife and a mom.
Yeah,
they're very supportive of her being like a go-getter too, obviously, but I don't think that they would be like appalled by her taking this route. Also, and she also hasn't said, I want to be a stay-at-home mom and like all of that stuff.
She still has aspirations.
But I agree, it's that kind of fading away and the centering of him in that relationship and losing focus on everything.
It's just not healthy.
No.
For anyone to.
No, but it's hard when you're that young and you're in that frame of mind.
No, and I was in that frame of mind myself, so.
Yeah.
Not shit talking or talking down on anybody, but still advising against.
But at risk of being those people who's like, you've forgotten what it's like to be young and in love. I mean, obviously we have, but I'm in my mid-30s now, so I can look at this in a way that,
with different perspective.
yeah, I wouldn't have when I was 17.
And then now we have, hey, buddy, we have niece and nephews who are in that phase of life. So we can see how juvenile it really is.
Yeah.
As old people.
Yeah.
Anywho, that spring they learned within days of each other that they had been accepted to their academies. David to the Air Force, Diane to the Navy. At special ceremonies at their high schools, they were presented with their academy acceptance letters. The Mansfield students gave a long ovation to David, who had Diane at his side. I know this sounds strange to say now, recalled Becky Strasnider, the former editor of the Mansfield Uproar, but we thought it was so cool that he had followed his dream. For her part, Gloria was so proud of what her daughter had done that she called the Hispanic-oriented La Estrella section of the Fort Worth Star-Telegram and suggested a story. When she spoke with David and Diane, the reporter, Rosanna Ruiz, asked them if they were being realistic about being married in 5 years, considering they would be so far apart. But the two insisted that they would stay in touch daily through email. I was surprised at how adamant they were, Ruiz recalled. They said they were certain the marriage was going to happen and that there were not going to be any outs. Then they stopped and looked at one another.
Ooh. A side eye.
Dun, dun, dun.
In the summer of 1996, after nearly 300 interviews, damn.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
That's probably nothing, but that's a lot.
Yeah. Detectives put the case on what they called slowdown mode. Bill and Linda Jones sank deeper into despair. Bill had to restrain himself to keep from interrogating every teenager he saw in town. Linda would get into her car at night and drive to the site where Adrienne was found, hoping she might come across the killer. Some students continued to see counselors about Adrienne's death. April Grossman painted a portrait of Adrienne in art class to honor her. She showed it to David, who sat behind April in government. He looked at it, paused, and then said, "You did a good job, April." Only 1,293 young people were accepted out of the 8,736 who applied to enter the Air Force Academy for the fall 1996 semester. Of the nearly 10,000 who applied to the U.S. Naval Academy in Annapolis, Maryland, only 1,212 were accepted, 200 of those being women. Just by getting into their academies, David Graham and Diane Zamora had become part of a select group of American teenagers. To stay there, however, they had to survive grueling summer boot camps designed to eradicate their civilian habits and teach them the exacting discipline of military life. For the freshmen at the academies, known as plebes at the Naval Academy and doolies at the Air Force Academy, the 6-week summer sessions were humid days of non-stop marching, push-ups, running, and taking orders. Upperclassmen belittled them every time they made a mistake. At meals, the freshmen were required to keep their eyes focused on their plates at all times, except when questioned by a superior. They had to be prepared to answer a barrage of questions and recite long passages about academy rules from memory. The system was unnerving and often demoralizing, and it was not unusual to see a cadet or midshipman resign his or her commission before the summer was over. Caitlin would be deuces. I would be deuces.
That'd be a revolving door. And get there, bye.
Immediately. You're not even stepped out of the revolving door, but you just
like,
hear someone, a kid yelling at another kid, and you're like, and I'm out.
And I'm done.
It very much makes me think of Maura Murray.
Absolutely, yeah.
Ugh. And hers, I think, was even more intense. It was West Point, so I mean,
she what? Well,
there is probably very similar.
I think is
it
that not West Point? No, West Point is New York City. No, you're right. You good?
I'm sure very
Different
similar.
ones.
Yeah. So By all indications, David successfully completed his basic cadet training in Colorado Springs. According to relatives who read them, Diane's letters home indicated that she was capably enduring plebe summer in Annapolis. She wrote in detail about her daily schedule, from the 90-minute calisthenics sessions at 6 in the morning, God, kill me, to the evening drill period in which they marched with M16 rifles. She wrote that she was going to church again at the Naval Chapel and that she had joined the Glee Club. But her squad leader, Jay Guild, a good-looking plebe from suburban Chicago, said Diane was not physically keeping up with the other plebes and seemed emotionally distracted. She liked to talk about David, Jay said. She missed him a lot. She often talked about him very strangely, as if she didn't trust him, but she still wanted to be with him. It was very odd.
Jay said Diane went on, quote, crying fits when David wouldn't answer her email. She told him she suspected David was cheating on her with a female cadet at the Air Force Academy. Apart from David, for the first time since they began dating, Diane became plagued with jealousy, and she decided in turn to make David jealous.
Oh no.
Not a fun game, guys. Don't do it. So messy. Whew. According to one source, Diane stopped sending David email for several days. Man, I'll show him. Telling him that her computer had broken. A few weeks into the plebe summer, Jay added Diane told him that she was considering breaking up with David, and she suggested that the two of them become boyfriend and girlfriend. Hard pass.
Also, a very sudden, how the turntables from utter intensity and, but again, isn't that
This is
high
unhinged.
school?
This is
Yeah.
unhinged. She then sent David an email telling him that Jay had kissed her.
Oh.
David and Diane, who once had found such security in their all-consuming devotion, seemed to be whirling out of control. When David heard about Diane and Jay, he attempted to contact naval officials to inform them that Jay was sexually harassing Diane. He sent threatening email to Jay, demanding that he have nothing more to do with Diane. One person close to the investigation said that David wrote Diane letters begging her not to deceive him. In the letters, David would write such lines as, "Remember what binds us together."
Oh, God.
Goodness. It was clear that Jay was captivated by Diane. When Diane's parents and Jay's mother arrived in Annapolis for Parents' Weekend on August 9th, they were told that Jay and Diane had been reprimanded by upperclassmen for excessive fraternizing. He had been seen sitting on the edge of her bed at night at Bancroft Hall, the co-ed dormitory where all of the midshipmen lived. The truth was that Gloria was relieved to hear the news about Jay and Diane. I got the very strong feeling that Diane's parents felt the relationship between Diane and David had become an unhealthy one, said Jay's mother, Cheryl Guild. At one point in the weekend, Diane and her parents went to lunch with Jay and his mother. During that lunch, Diane got up to call David. Cheryl could see Diane across the room talking on the phone, and she noticed the girl was physically shaking. Gloria leaned toward Cheryl and said, "I wish Diane had met Jay first." Jay said at one point in the summer he asked Diane if David had ever cheated on her before. She said yes, and I said, "What did you do about it?" She told me that she had asked David to kill the other girl.
Oh. Once again, zero to NASA.
Oh, what do you mean?
Not just like key her car or, light some dog poop on fire and have her step on it. Just kill her.
No, and then just casually, just saying it.
Oh my God.
Saying it is unhinged.
Yeah.
Saying it without, just saying it as a fact is unhinged. Not saying it with, remorse.
Yeah.
Ugh.
God. So, stunned, Jay listened as Diane told him that she had watched David kill a girl named Adrienne. She never said she had participated. All she said is that she told him to do it, and she saw him do it, Jay said. Although the Academy's strict honor code, known as the Brigade of Midshipmen Honor Concept, states that a midshipman must immediately report another midshipman who lies, cheats, or breaks the law in any way, Jay told no one and would eventually be asked to resign from the Academy because of his silence.
I mean, I'm not out there shouting on rooftops people's secrets and what they confide in me, but like,
That's...
there's things that I at least have to tell, like, my sister.
Yeah.
At least you.
Mm-hmm.
I have to tell, like, Jacob.
Yeah, you don't want to just sit with it. I could understand him saying nothing if the girl she was talking about wasn't dead. But she was dead.
Oh, see, that would be, even in that day and age, you could do a little bit of looking up, like, oh, her hometown, look for deaths in her hometown.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I'm saying is, like, if she wasn't dead
But-
and he just thought she was being
Yeah.
attention-seeking, but the person that she referred to as asking her boyfriend to kill literally was
named her.
killed. Yeah.
But, and again, she's stating it as a fact.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
just take that as a fact. And like you said, he won't get in trouble if it's not true. He's just saying what somebody told him.
Right.
Oof.
I didn't want to believe it, he said. I thought maybe she was trying to get attention. But in late August, Diane told the story again, this time to her two roommates, Mandy Gotch and Jennifer McKierney. They were having a late-night conversation, and one of the girls mentioned how Diane and David seemed so in love. According to an investigator in the case, one roommate said to Diane, "I bet you two would do anything for one another." Diane replied, "Yes." "Even kill for one another?" the roommate asked. What a weird question, unless she's fishing.
I can see fishing or even just
Yeah.
like joking around like, oh, even kill.
Yeah. Ugh. Diane paused. "We have," she said. Then she told them the story about Adrienne. Whether out of guilt or pride, no one is sure. Initially, the two roommates were skeptical about what they had heard, but the next day they nervously told a Navy chaplain about the conversation. The chaplain contacted a Navy attorney at the Academy, who then began calling police departments in the Dallas-Fort Worth area to ask if they had an unsolved murder of a teenage girl. Boy, did they.
Beep, boop, 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 boop. Hello,
Oh,
I'd like to report a murder.
Oh my God, imagine getting that call.
Ooh.
On August 29th, he contacted the Grand Prairie Police Department. The next morning, detectives were on a flight to Annapolis.
They pulled her out of the first pep rally of the season for the Navy's football team, the first night when the plebes were allowed to mingle with upperclassmen and feel a part of the academy. Across the yard came the sound of pounding drums and cheering midshipmen as Diane was escorted down a long hallway in the administration building and then was led into a room where several detectives and Navy officials waited. She admitted to nothing. She said only that she had been insecure throughout plebe summer and she thought such a tale about murder would make her look tougher in the eyes of other plebes. This isn't, it's military, so it is a little fucked up sometimes. But it's not prison. You're not getting, like, street cred. Yeah. The cops weren't buying it, but what could they do? They had no evidence against her. Navy officials told her they were temporarily suspending her and sending her home until the matter was straightened out. They gave her an airplane ticket that took her from Baltimore to Atlanta and then on to Dallas. When Diane reached Atlanta, however, she changed planes and flew to Colorado Springs, where she went to see David. She said,
That's going to get her even more in trouble.
No one knows what was said between them, but the two did have their photographs taken by a friend of David's.
What?
They just stopped by the local Sears and had their portraits done.
My lord.
David was wearing his Air Force uniform, Diane her all-white naval outfit. In that one moment, they looked at the camera with a nearly desperate look, as if they knew that this was their last time together, that the fairy tale was over.
Is that the picture that's a few paragraphs back? Oh,
that would make sense.
Yeah, we'll have to post that picture. When the detectives arrived in Colorado Springs, David insisted that he couldn't imagine why Diane would tell such a blatantly false story. But the cops told him they had found his friend in Burleson and had heard the story of the bloody clothing. Then the Air Force officers told the young cadet that he had a duty to reveal the truth. Finally, David broke. He sat down at a word processor and typed a 4.5-page confession, reprinted in part in the Dallas Morning News, that one forensic psychologist would later equate with a Danielle Steele novel. David wrote that for a month after his evening with Adrienne, he was tormented by guilt and shame. The perfect and pure relationship between him and Diane, he added, had been defiled by, quote, the one girl who had stolen from us our purity, quote.
Shh. Okay, add to the list. Shut the fuck up, David.
Did she hold you down and assault you? Did she put a roofie in your
Not
drink?
saying that, like, you know, maybe he wasn't. We don't fucking know if you want to play that game.
Yeah.
But it took two to tango.
Yeah. I'm going to go out on a limb and say that she did not assault him in any way, shape, or form, and that it was fully consensual. Eventually, he told Diane about his tryst. For at least an hour, she screamed sobs that I wouldn't have thought possible. It wasn't just jealousy. For Diane, she had been betrayed, deceived, and forgotten. He then said Diane gave him an ultimatum. Kill Adrienne. David agreed. I didn't have any harsh feelings for Adrienne, he wrote, but no one could stand between me and Diane. And so, David admitted, he called Adrienne on the night of December 4th, 1995, and said he wanted to see her. He picked her up in a Mazda Protégé owned by Diane's parents. Diane was hiding in the hatchback. They drove out to a secluded country road, and Adrienne reclined the passenger seat, no doubt hoping for another romantic interlude. According to David's confession, while he held Adrienne, Diane raised up from her hiding place and hit her in the head with a dumbbell that belonged to David. Adrienne, however, did not die.
Oof.
Oh, this is so messed up. I realized too late that all those quick, painless snaps seen in the movies were just your usual Hollywood stunts, David wrote. Adrienne somehow crawled through the window and to our horror ran off. Oh my God, that baby. I was panicky and just grabbed the Makarov 9mm to follow. To our relief, at the time, she was too injured from the wounds to go far. She ran into a nearby field and collapsed. In that short instant, I knew I couldn't leave the key witness to our crime alive. Key witness?
Y'all just caved her head in like a pumpkin.
The brutality and evil. In that short instant, I knew I couldn't leave the key witness to our crime alive. I just pointed and shot. I fired again and ran to the car. Diane and I drove off. The first things out of our mouths were, I love you. And then Diane said, her thirst for revenge suddenly slaked, we shouldn't have done that, David.
You can't add to the list. Shut up, Diane.
Wow.
Oh, I hate them.
I hate them so much. The police recovered the handgun along with several dumbbells from the attic of the Grahams' home. They also confronted Diane, who by then was back in Texas. She stared at the officers. Then she quietly went to the station to give her own confession. She was put in a solitary cell on a separate floor from David. She looked like a harmless teenage girl in a sleeveless shirt and blue jeans. Every day she did push-ups and sit-ups in her cell. She asked her mother for history and government textbooks so she could continue her studies. She said little to the guards or to her fellow female inmates, except for one prisoner who regularly cried because she missed her children. Diane sang her a contemporary Christian song she had memorized back in high school titled Faith. Shut
Ew.
up, Diane.
In Mansfield, as everywhere else, the question on everyone's mind was, why? It was one thing, residents said, to read about urban gang kids shooting it out over a rivalry. But how did the culture of the streets, where loyalty and vengeance are valued above life and law, infect upstanding small-town kids? There were the usual discussions about teenagers' values being shaped more by shabby movie violence and the angry lyrics of their favorite singers than they were by moral lessons from their parents.
I don't know if I buy that.
Other citizens were shocked to learn that more than one of David's closest friends suspected that David was involved in Adrienne's murder, yet never said anything to the police. It was as if the most important thing among these teenagers was not, quote, narking on a friend. I get it because you really do have, like, snitches get stitches. Like, don't tell on me. Get it? But that's for little shit. That's like you put a dent in your parents' truck backing up into the mailbox. Like,
yeah, or you get busted with weed.
Murder.
Yeah, this is that line where you don't come back from.
Also, like, are you not scared for yourself?
Oh, absolutely. What's to think it couldn't happen to you?
Like,
for
even
sure.
Diane's roommates, I'd be like,
And also how
I'll give you any leave.
hypocritical if you were one of the people who suspected, like had good reason to suspect, and you were one of the ones showing up and being like mourning her.
Yeah.
And being like, oh, no.
Yeah.
There's no narking, we don't narc thing that trumps murder.
Oof.
Definitely not.
Even the friend who they went into the bedroom all bloody and stuff, it's like, and I don't know their situation, but you would hope they'd at least entrust their parents with that information, and
Yeah.
the parents
somebody.
take that somewhere.
Yeah.
Obviously not, though, but granted, Diane didn't know when to shut the fuck up, so
Yeah.
they got busted anyways.
I wonder if it was this, like, maybe not even like she's bragging, but that she's having to, like, get it off her chest.
That's
you
what it
know?
kind of feels like.
Like, that it's just eating away at her.
I think I think she's crazy enough to use it as a bragging right. Like, oh, I did do this, but does have some remorse.
Mm-hmm.
And like the subconscious of you is like trying to voice it to
Yeah.
then relieve yourself of it.
Yeah, I agree.
After the initial wave of national publicity over the arrests, Anna Barrett, a reporter for the Mansfield News Mirror, began looking for positive stories to write about the high school to help the community's morale. But something has changed in this town, she said. You can feel it. Indeed, within a month after the arrests, a junior at Mansfield High was shot in the face with a shotgun and killed. A girl who had been on the cross-country team hanged herself because of personal problems. Oh my gosh.
Jesus.
As for Bill and Linda Jones, they changed their phone number to avoid the phone calls from reporters, television shows, and movie producers. One producer, explaining why David and Diane's would be a great miniseries, said in an interview, "It's a modern-day Romeo and Juliet, only they kill someone else instead of each other." So not Romeo and Juliet.
No.
Just psychos who murdered somebody out of vengeance
And
for nothing.
jealousy. Yeah.
Honestly, it would have been more Romeo and Juliet if Diane would have killed David, because he's the one who was non-faithful to her.
Yeah.
But yeah, go after the girl that your boyfriend who was in the committed relationship. Oh, we could do a whole podcast on that.
The only thing that's similar between their story and Romeo and Juliet is that both have one boy and one girl. That's it.
Well, also the insta love.
Oh,
and
yeah, that's
psychoticness
true.
of
The
children.
obsession. Yeah, that's also true. Yeah.
What remained unfathomable was how David and Diane could convince themselves that only death could eliminate the one blot on their perfect teenage love affair. How could they imagine that sexual betrayal was a far worse crime than murder? It seems clear that David convinced Diane that Adrienne was a seductress who lured him behind the elementary school. According to one police source, just before Diane hit Adrienne in the head, She looked at her and said, quote, "I know who you are. I know what you've done." Gosh.
I could launch into a diatribe on how messed up purity culture is.
So damaging.
And that's exactly why people like this can believe that sexual betrayal is worse than murder, because your entire value inherently as a person, and not only that, but your ability to have a happy life and a life that is considered like blessed by God, or just being like a worthy person in general, is directly connected to your sexual air quotes purity. So they actually, yes, in many cases, people do think that that's worse than killing, which is
Isn't that
incredibly
ridiculous?
fucked
Well, that's
up.
where you see like pastors killing their wives, or
Yeah.
like instead of a divorce, because that's a sin.
Or they'll kill the person they were hooking up with rather than it coming out.
It just pisses me off so much. Reading stories, hearing stories, all this shit of two people in a relationship, one cheats, and then the person who was cheated on attacks the person that the person you were with cheated with.
Yeah.
No.
Team up together and go against the person who was playing both of you.
Like, why the fuck are you defending a piece of shit that betrayed you? Like, ew. You immediately lose all value.
Yeah.
You aren't even on the discount rack. You're just
But
thrown out in the dumpster.
I completely agree with you. But again, it goes back to that Diane's identity had become so wrapped up in her sexual belonging to David, and her believing it belonged to her.
Yeah.
And that brought out that horridness in her. And obviously not everybody who grew up in purity culture has a tendency to murder, but it's always that combination of things. So like, she clearly had some other stuff going on.
Yeah.
But then that indoctrination that they clearly both had, and then how David used that to heighten the stakes even more by being like, she seduced me and damaged what we have, you see. Ugh, just pouring gasoline on a fire. Throat punch both of them.
Ooh.
So perhaps a trial will provide the definitive answer to why they did it. The district attorney's office has not determined whether it will seek the death penalty for the two 18-year-olds. There is an outside chance that David's attorney, Dan Cogdell of Houston, will get David's confession thrown out of court because he had been confined to his quarters at the Air Force Academy for more than 30 hours before the police took the confession. If a judge rules that the confession is admissible, however, then it is possible that David's attorney, Cogdell and John Linebarger, a prominent Fort Worth defense attorney who had been hired by Diane's family, will try to position their clients to point fingers at each other. If I think attacking the Zamora girl is the appropriate line of defense, I will do it, said Cogdell, who added that he believes Graham wrote his confession to cover for Diane. A couple of investigators agree with him, believing that Diane had a Lady Macbeth-like control over David's life, coaxing and taunting him into letting his impulses and desires overcome his scruples. But others suggest that David, who brought guns and violence, sex and betrayal into Diane's sweet and studious life, exercised his spell over her by enlisting her as a partner in murder, using death to bind them together for life. There is even a third police theory that David, wanting to prove that he cared nothing for Adrienne, took one shot, and then Diane, consumed with fury, took the other. Still, it is difficult to imagine that David and Diane will someday turn into adversaries in court. When David was being escorted to the county jail in Fort Worth, a television reporter asked if he had anything to say to Diane. David looked at the camera and said, "I love you." As for Diane, one afternoon she motioned toward a guard and asked if she would pass on a message to David. "What is it?" the guard asked. Diane paused. "Tell him greenish brown female sheep. All right, Caitlin, please tell me you looked up what happened to these two.
Yes.
Okay.
So they are both currently serving lifetime prison sentences
Okay.
and will not be eligible for parole until 2036. So David is at the James V. Allred Unit, Iowa Park, Texas.
Mm-hmm.
So he didn't pop up in the Texas Department of Criminal Justice,
Mm-hmm.
but Diane Zamora did, and she is
Okay.
currently 48. She is serving a life sentence.
Wow.
Inmate visitation eligible? No. And yeah, offense date was 1995, December 4th. Sentence date was 1998, February 17th. And the offense was capital murder with deadly weapon.
Damn. Good.
So yeah,
But-
they're both behind bars. She still
Wow.
has the crazy eyes.
Oh, she sure does.
The eyes.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so
Good
he didn't become
Lord.
a fighter pilot.
And she
and
did
she-
not become an astronaut.
Nope.
Wow. What a horrible, horrible story. I hate it for Adrienne's parents. And
Adrienne was only 16 when she was murdered.
oh my
Brutally.
God. Such a baby.
And to be lured out of your house and like set up like that.
Yeah.
How disgusting.
Ew, Caitlin,
It's-
there's a selfie that I can only assume that Diane, I'm Google imaging stuff, that Diane somehow posted from prison. And it says, and on her wiki bio, it says, Diane Zamora, former midshipman. Okay. Yes, you were a former for a very, very short time.
You were a fucking plebe for not even a year.
Yeah.
You didn't do anything. If anything, that's not a bragging right. That's more like just sad that you had that and threw it away.
Yeah.
Like you were bright enough and
Just all the lives that were wrecked. Very, very sad.
you just threw your life away like that. Like for
A split second. And then immediately be like, we shouldn't have done that.
maybe you should have had that feeling when you raised the dumbbell.
Yeah, exactly.
Or were hiding in the car. Or after you told
No
him
shit.
you either kill her or you then like, it was a little crazy. I'm
Yeah.
actually PMSing right now. So like, let me just chill.
And the 0 to let's crush her skull and shoot her in the face instead of just what
But
like,
were they even
punch
going
her-
to
punch her,
shoot
pull her hair if you hate her
Yeah.
that much, or
like a cat fight? Like
yeah.
stay away. But like, it seems as if Diane just wanted to bash her to death, and she somehow got up and got away, and that's
Yeah.
when they used the gun.
I would be incredibly curious to really know, was that the first time that Diane had ever had an outburst of rage like that?
Yeah, that's
know,
yeah.
Like, could people in her life who really knew her honestly sit there and say that she'd never done anything that indicated something was off? Maybe not.
yeah,
Maybe not. Maybe that relationship brought out
that's
something
dramatic.
in her, but it just makes me think that maybe there's a little bit more to Diane beneath that polished, overachieving surface that maybe we
Yeah.
don't know. But it's also very possible that she was that wound up and like intense that she just kind of snapped when
Yeah,
she felt wronged. And
I mean, and she's still a kid, and she's
Mhm.
going through such heightened emotions. Like,
yeah,
she starts dating this guy. She is engaged with this guy within a
Mhm.
month. She
Yeah.
finds out he cheated on her.
she loses her air quotes virginity to him. To her, the stakes are as high as they could possibly be in her life. And to her, they're so incredibly high, but in the sense of the rest of the world and life
Yeah.
situation, it's so meaningless, which is why it was so tragic. It's such a pointless death. Anyways,
Yeah, so
let us know
two
what
lady
you think.
killers, like I thought at the
Yeah.
beginning. Nope.
Nope. What do you think was, of the three like police theories, what do you think was the most likely? Because there was one that said that David did it all and was just covering for Diane.
No.
There was the other that said that Diane actually shot Adrienne that they each shot her one time.
See, my only hang up about his first initial confession about like she bludgeoned her with the dumbbell, she made it out the window,
Yeah.
and then he shot like aimlessly. How do you shoot her in the head and then in the cheek like aimlessly? So that's where I got a little hung up. But I do believe at the very least Diane did the dumbbell and he did the gun.
Yeah, I think so too. And I think that he saw her more clearly than he indicated.
Yeah.
Because there's no way. And he knew what he was doing. Like, he knew how to handle a firearm, which is also scary. But
yeah, and this brings me to my point. Every time I go to the airport or like talk about airport and like doing TSA, my dad's always like, I have TSA pre-check, like I can bring on this stuff. And I'm like, he always brags about because he's military, they don't have to have like, they're already pre-checked, so they don't have to be checked. I'm like, you guys are the motherfuckers that are unhinged. You guys are the ones that need to be double checked.
wait, so if you're TSA pre-check, can you technically like...
You still have to announce that you're bringing a firearm.
Oh, okay.
Like, you still have to do that.
Of course, right,
but,
right.
But, like, I just mean in this world, like, not just the airports. It's like, you guys are the motherfuckers. Like, everybody needs to be screened.
Yeah, I could not agree more.
Just because you do it for a job doesn't mean...
You aren't unhinged. And it's those people who tend to fall through the cracks more.
Ugh.
Why is it... I'm sure papers upon papers have been written about this, but that the military attracts personalities that are more prone to these types of snap-episodes. Like, there's this level of extreme intensity and control that you have to have, and like mind over matter. But then it's like when the pendulum swings the opposite way, you have what we just read about, and that's absolutely terrifying. And it seems like...
Yeah, I don't know.
Like, maybe you just get to be under so much pressure that you overreact to certain things that are still your... Obviously,
it's
still
crazy
your fault,
too, though,
but...
because the military itself is such a wide umbrella because, like, you have civilian jobs, you have, like, non-deployable jobs. Like, there's so many different
just because you're in
personalities and stuff.
just because you're in the military, that doesn't mean you're
No.
shooting overseas somewhere, for
But
sure.
you have permission to. I don't know. It's weird.
Yeah.
I don't know. But the thought of going to a fucking academy and being told what to do, where to look, I'm not built to be a mindless robot.
No.
For somebody. I'm just not. And I have ADHD, so I genuinely...
You would have to be so heavily medicated, you'd be drooling into your corn chowder.
I'd be on a lot of Adderall. Sergeant Caitlin, you can look to your left.
They'd be like, Caitlin, stop push-upping. Caitlin, stop push-upping. And that's why not everyone is in the military.
Yeah.
Ooh.
I talk back.
Yeah, and that's okay. We need free thinkers.
Ooh, that was...
intense.
That, like, I think in the beginning, our first part of this was very paced well, and then, bam!
Very intense. Hell,
so, yeah.
Was that intense.
Let us know what you think.
Please do. And if there's any other blind reads that you guys would like us to do, please. Even if you've already, like, know the story, but you just think it'd be one that we would really vibe with and that our listening campers would vibe with, please send them our way.
I mean, if you just happen to want to hear what we have to say about it.
Yeah, absolutely.
You like our voices and our opinions.
I like your voice. I don't like hearing the sound of my voice.
Yes, same.
Every time there's a playback and I hear my voice, I'm like,
yeah.
But yes, please send those things to campingiscanceled@gmail.com or slide into our DMs on Instagram. And it's been a minute since we've said this, but if you guys haven't already and you like the show, please go on wherever you stream, Spotify, Apple. I mean, those are the 2 streaming platforms I know of that people use the most.
Yeah.
And please leave us those 5-star reviews.
We've also have had audio uploaded to YouTube.
Oh yeah,
So
yes, we have. So you can now follow us on YouTube, and it's just the audio. I would really love one day for us to be doing video feed, but that's just not possible right now in this stage of life. But you can get us now on YouTube.
yeah, I have like ranch stains on my shirt right now, so and I'm really due for a hair wash.
Same. I have like 4 drinks in front of me. Yeah.
We're not organized
No, we're
enough
not.
to be shown on camera, but
We'll get
somehow
there.
we are organized enough for you guys to listen to us. So
Mhm.
yeah. And with that, as you guys know, every time the world gets a little bit scarier,
Mhm.
the world is a scary place. So always remember to have courage and stay kind.
Of a bitch.
Bye.
Bye.